For the past 3 years, me and a team of highly qualified, highly capable, incredible names, many of whom you probably will recognize, have been working together to solve one of creationism's hardest problems. And it's not the answer to um, a particular creation model question. It's not the final nail in the coffin of evolution. And it's not even one of my favorite projects. How can we all get along? Although it might contribute to that a little bit. We are solving the problem of funding for creation science research in a brand new way that has never been tried before. And I'm very excited to tell you all about what we've done, what we're doing, and how you can be a part of it here on this episode of the Winsome Creationist. So welcome in. I cannot wait. I've been waiting for this day for many years now, but I want to take you all the way back to 2023 in July at the International Conference on Creationism. I made the trip out there and it was a wonderful, wonderful time. Great place, great fellowship. As a matter of fact, I didn't even get to go to the actual conferences. I was up there for some other business and I went to the evening sessions that were free and open to the public just so that I could be around it and meet up with some friends who had made over the years online. And I did get to do that. And it was very fun, a very satisfying time. And as I'm there and I'm listening to the presentations and having conversations, one particular conversation was just incredibly eye-opening and fascinating. I was there till 3 or 4 in the morning, I think, listening to one creationist, tell all about his research and stories of the work he's done over the years. And a problem that became incredibly apparent to me was that there was no money for creationism. Okay. There's vision, there's excitement, there's fresh new eyes, there's people who want to get involved, but there's no funding. And the funding that does exist, while we're appreciative of it, is very minimal. Most creationist resources, and this is not necessarily throwing shade, it's just kind of the fact of the matter. Most creationist funding resources end up at one organization, which is Answers in Genesis. And there are a couple other organizations that funds trickle down to as well, to the tune of many millions of dollars per year. And that would be Creation Ministries International, CMI, and ICR, the Institute for Creation Research. What's interesting, though, is that many of the greatest advances that we've made in creation science over the years have been the result of a collegiate effort, many times completely independent researchers from those three organizations, sometimes teams working inter-organization, right? So this organization working with this organization together with maybe a combination of external researchers, right? And so many of our biggest breakthroughs come not necessarily as a result of the funding that comes in to the places where the funding usually flows. And it's not my heart to take away funding from any of those folks for the work that they're doing. They're doing a wonderful work on their own regard. But the honest truth is, even in the case of an organization like ICR, the Institute for Creation Research, that has the word research in the name, they devote a large portion of their budgets to other activities, the evangelism and outreach side of it, the apologetics side of it. So while these folks are all contributing to research, the fact remains that there's no way for donors to give transparently to an organization that is focused entirely on creation research. It's not funding staff, it's not funding buildings, it's not funding, lots of overhead. We wanted to build an organization where you could give $100 and know that 10% of that money was going to be used to keep up the infrastructure, but the other 90% would be given directly to the researchers, solving some of the hardest problems in creationism and helping just to build the creation model and explore God's world in light of his word. So at the ICC that year, the Lord began to burden my heart for this. And I had a conversation with my friend and the founder of the International Association for Creation, Stephen Policastro. And in that conversation, I know he's a very highly motivated guy. He's a hard charger. He's got a lot going on. And so I wanted to bring this idea to him and say, hey, do you think this idea has legs? Could we do something here? Could we finally offer a way for people to give to creationism and to give transparently to projects that they find meaningful to them? And he loved the idea, connected me with the folks at Logos Research Associates like Fred and Jay. And we began putting together this plan in collaboration to build the first ever crowdfunding website for creation science research. And it's called GoFund Creation. And I'd love to show you around right now. This is the website, GoFund Creation. And I encourage you to visit this homepage, check out this video with Jay Seegert sort of explaining the vision behind GoFund Creation and the mission and how you can get involved. You can see exactly how the platform works. It's very transparent. And here are a few of our featured projects right away that you can see. In Pursuit of Dinosaur DNA, the Bombardier Beetle spray system applied to fire sprinkler technology. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And the Ancient Soft Tissue Atlas. Those are 3 out of the 9 initial projects that we're launching with. And you can see here who's behind GoFund Creation. This is me, Steve Schramm. Of course, there's Logos Research Associates and the International Association for Creation. And I do want to take just a moment to speak specifically about our collaboration with Logos. I knew that I had a lot of the business and marketing chops and web design skills to be able to put together this website. But I did not have the organizational power nor the scientific resources that Logos Research brought to the table. And Logos is the largest consortium of PhD creation science researchers. Many of the different folks who even work at the different organizations are also a member of Logos Research Associates. And this is a wonderful collection of folks who are working together to build the creation model. And so every time that we bring a project through our pipeline and look at a new project, these guys are taking a look at the project. They're saying, hey, is this project worthy of being worked on? There's a whole list of criteria that they go through to actually determine whether or not we should consider taking on a project. So I do just want to say, before I move any further, a very special thank you both to Stephen and the International Association for Creation and Fred and Jay and all the others at the Logos Research Associates. Without them, this project would not have been possible. And I'm incredibly blessed and honored to have worked alongside them to make this a reality. So again, you can come here and you can read and learn more about the website. We've got a wonderful blog that we've built, and I'm excited about this because different resources on the internet serve different purposes, okay? And there's a lot of creation blogs out there, and we didn't want to be like every other creation blog. So the path that we've taken is our blog posts are very easy to read and easy for lay people to understand. And what they do is purposefully look at particular scientific models, or maybe one aspect of a scientific model, or a very common question that gets asked, or even the patterns, the migration patterns of a particular bird, like this one you see on the screen about the Arctic tern. And what we're trying to do is laser in on very specific items where future research could be needed and is needed to help build a creation model. So we're looking very objectively at the strengths and weaknesses of the creation position as it comes to certain questions. And I think this blog is going to become the premier place where up and coming scientific researchers come to discover the problems that they're excited about solving, and that they could go into their PhD programs learning to solve. I think that as creationists, sometimes we get caught in this idea that, like, basically we've got to figure out the flood year, distant starlight, and a more solid baraminology model to replace evolution, and then we're good. The reality is that we need to redeem all of science for the glory of God. And so there are way more questions than just those three big ones that we need to solve, and nuances and very specific little details. And I think that's exciting. For example, some of the research that's been done, the secular research that's been done, has been wonderful, and we can port it over when it comes to, say, the migration pattern of the Arctic tern. But yet, that research that is done is still done in service of an evolutionary explanation. We need a researcher who's thinking about the creationary explanations for these very specific and highly sophisticated mechanisms. In my opinion, it's not enough just to say, oh, this looks more complex than evolution could have done on its own, and so therefore we need a creator, and creation is therefore a better hypothesis. Okay. That's like step 0. All right. We need to look deeper at understanding that particular thing from a creationary perspective, but the resources aren't there. Most people, I'm going to be on my high horse for a minute here. Okay. Let me join you back here. One of the big reasons for doing this is that not only is the funding wildly off balance when it comes to mainstream secular research over and against what's available for creation research, but even the researchers themselves, creationists oftentimes can't make it during the primary working years of their lives in some sort of creation ministry. Frankly, if you're not fortunate enough to be on one of the teams at some of the larger organizations where the money flows, the independent research just is not there for you to do. And so you therefore have to spend the majority of your time doing work in a job that pays you for your expertise, and then do creationism usually as a very low priority side hobby. Or you might even wait until most of your working years are done and treat creationism as essentially an encore career that you do in retirement out of love and passion. Can I just be very frank? That is all well and good. I'm so glad for those dedicated men and women who have decided to do that and to give their time to the Lord and to his world and this discovery. It's a wonderful thing. But can I just tell you, we will never have the holistic creation model that we need. We will never be able to compete with mainstream research if we don't turn that on its head and figure out a way to provide funding for people in their working years that they can use to take and do wonderful, meaningful research that provides them a living while they're doing it. We have to change that. And that's going to take a lot of money and a lot of work from Christians who are interested in seeing us explore God's world in even deeper and more meaningful ways. So I would love for you to consider contributing and becoming a part of what we're doing. Okay, back to the website tour here. So again, I invite you to look around. You can see about the organizations involved and about everything that we've done and some of the philosophy behind it. I do encourage you to visit also this transparency page, especially. This transparency page explains how we vet research, how we bring in finances, and our, the 501c3 status and the things that we're committed to. So please check that out. Once you get logged in, there's a very nice, very clean funding dashboard. You can see all the projects that you funded there. You can keep up with things. You can add money, and it's a wonderful platform and a very clean, well-designed, easy-to-use system. And we hope you find that to be true for you. I do want to show you the main event, which is really the projects page. So if we click on support a project, you can see we have 9 current projects. And I'd love to just give you a very quick overview of these projects and explain to you what they are. Again, not in super depth, but just a little bit of an explanation. This first one is called In Pursuit of Dinosaur DNA. And what this is trying to do is extract and sequence dinosaur DNA. See, we believe that dinosaurs are only thousands of years old, and DNA and soft tissue can last with no problem in our expectations for a creation model. That goes against an evolutionary model, but it is possible in a creation model. So we're very excited about this project, and it's a big, lofty goal. The folks at CRS are involved in this and a few others. So I definitely would encourage you to come check this out. The next project I want to show you is this bombardier beetle project. This is a exercise in biomimicry, and it's a very exciting project to me because we're actually going to be able to look at the bombardier beetle spray systems and see if we can apply that to a state-of-the-art next generation fire sprinkler technology. And that would be incredible if we could do that. As we look at the design of God's creatures in God's world, he gives us amazing and wonderful tools that we can use to improve our own lives and to make things better for humanity all around. And looking to the natural world is a great place to do that. It's something that scientists have been doing for many years now, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing that as well. All right, the Ancient Soft Tissue Atlas. So thousands of soft tissue samples have been found in these ancient extinct animals, and we've documented so many of these. And what we'd like to do is put together a website where anyone could just go look at all the documented examples with pictures and all the details laid out cleanly for you there, that have the ancient soft tissue examples that have been found for hundreds of animals across the world. As you can sort of see in this brief screenshot here, fish, sharks, jellyfish, plants, and over a dozen dinosaur species have been, we found soft tissue remains for. It's a lot more than a lot of people realize. So we're excited about that effort, and we'd invite you to contribute to that goal. Okay, the Fountains of the Great Deep steam jet modeling. We want to know more about the mechanism that caused the flood, essentially. And there's a lot here, a lot of depth here. Phase 1 of this project is already complete. We're looking at funding phase 2 right now, and it's a computer modeling effort to see if we can figure out and learn more about how the Fountains of the Great Deep breaking open and the steam jets that happened would have taken place. And so please check that project out. The Laramide Province flood post-flood boundary investigation. Brad, who is one of the lead folks who's been working on this project with me, is very involved in the discussions around the flood, post-flood boundary. He hosted the roundtable at the last ICC about that, the discussion about that. And so this is a research initiative that's dedicated to investigating this boundary line in the Laramide province of southern Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and northern New Mexico. So if you'd like to contribute to this mission, I think that it would be a wonderful thing to contribute to if you're interested in geology, because this post-flood, post-flood boundary is probably one of the most significant issues that has effects that you might not realize related to post-flood diversification and baraminology. And so getting to the bottom of this, and there's good arguments, by the way, I think, for the various positions that exist about where this boundary lies. And so I highly encourage a visit to this project and to donate some money if you feel so led. All right, university outreach events. We're partnering with Creation Today and other organizations, by the way, not just Creation Today, to get us more involved in college campuses and the work that is going on there. I think that it is very underrated that we need to spend more time getting into the colleges, having these discussions. If we believe that science is on our side, we have nothing to be ashamed of. We should be sending out the right people to go into these environments, open up these discussions, and to be winsome, by the way, while they're doing it. So we'd love to fund these university outreach events, and as many of them as we possibly can. So please consider giving to that project. Creation Science student scholarships. This is another huge one. Whenever new students come into programs at universities and colleges to do aspects of creation research, it turns out they need money to get these things done. And most of the time, again, these independent researchers, these folks in universities have to do a lot of their own fundraising, and they're not necessarily trained on how to do fundraising, right? They're trying to do science, not fundraising. So we want to ease this burden for them. And you can do that by giving to this project, the Creation Science Student Scholarships. And then these last two, I'm gonna loop them together, although they are different things. There is the GFC Research Reserve for GoFund creation, and then there is the Logos RA General Fund. Now, I do not want you to in any way think that these are second-class citizens type of projects. These are extremely important projects that need your considered donation as well. Logos is the organization that runs the entire underlayment of the GoFund creation platform. Okay. Again, in the collaboration that we do together, Logos is the organizational backbone. We could not have done this without them. They provided the bulk of the funding for this project. And this project, GoFund Creation, is essentially becoming their official giving and donation arm. So this is where you contribute and give to Logos Research Associates to help us do more and more meaningful work than ever before, and to support the people who are necessary in a nonprofit effort like this. It does take people to get these things done, and keeping this organization running is an extremely high priority. And we would invite you to please consider donating to this effort. And the Research Reserve specifically is for folks like you who may not have a specific project that you want to give to, but you'd like to give to this effort. You believe in the effort, and you'd say, you know what, I trust you guys to devote and to direct my resources in good stewardship wherever you feel led, whichever projects right now need it the most. So would you please consider contributing to that project? That project will help us to direct funds in places where it will be needed. Let's say that we have a project that needs $1,000 to make it over the finish line, but it's currently stalled. We could prayerfully and using wisdom devote resources and redirect resources from the Research Reserve to spend $1,000 of those dollars and move it over to this project to fully fund this project and get those scientists working while we make room on the website to bring in new projects and initiatives that other folks might be interested in. So please consider doing that. And of course, a couple things I want to make points in general about giving. First of all, this is all tax deductible. Okay. Logos Research Associates is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So your giving is fully tax deductible to the fullest extent of the law. And any project that you give to that, if it does not receive the amount of funding that it needed in order to actually launch the project, then the project has to be abandoned. Then what we're going to do is essentially redirect those funds into the Research Reserve, and we will wisely steward and use those resources towards other projects that could use them. And again, same here with this. If you give to a specific project and we actually receive more contributions that can be wisely used for the project, then at that point, we're also going to redirect those funds. But otherwise, if you give a gift to a specific project, 100% guaranteed, that's our transparent promise to you, it will go to funding that project. And then a more general point that I feel is very important to make. This is a crowdfunding effort, okay? If you have $10,000 to give to this effort, please, please consider giving to this effort, okay? Not for one moment do I want to discourage you. And I think that we will see a lot of folks in that position who have significant amounts of resources that they would like to contribute to this through a trusted operational partner that could put their resources to good use for the kingdom of God. I believe that's going to happen. But if you got $10, we want you to. Here's the bet. I'm not a betting man, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll use the word bet. The bet that I'm making is that there are not many folks who have the resources to give at that very high level, $10, $15, $20,000 plus. But I'd be willing to bet that there's hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of Christians who are passionate about God's world, who do have 5, 10, 25, 100, 300, maybe 500, maybe even 1,000 or more dollars that they could give. What about those people? Where do they put their resources? Where do they contribute? I'm here to tell you that even $5 goes a long way. It's amazing to see the contributions come in. You're not going to be considered a second-class citizen on this platform. If you give any amount of money at all, we're deeply appreciative. And we're going to make sure that as much money as absolutely possible, and we're very transparent about what that looks like. You can visit the website, but we have a very simple 90-10 split. 90% of your donation goes to the researchers, 10% is for maintaining the platform and keeping it alive. And so no matter what amount of money that you have to contribute, we welcome it. We thank you for it. We're grateful for it. And we pray that God is going to bless this initiative beyond anything that we had ever thought or dreamed possible. So this is GoFund Creation, a passion project that I've been working on for 3 years now with some very amazing, incredible partners who all see eye to eye on our vision for a creationism that is bold, that is research focused, that is model building focused, and that is winsome. This platform is fundamentally built with the winsome creationist heart and mindset at the core level. And I could not be more excited for a project of this nature, this level, and with the contributors that have become a part of this process to this point being involved. That is such a powerful thing, an amazing thing. And it's just more proof and evidence that God can use anyone, God can use anything for his glory and his will. And I'm excited to see what God will do with this. Please consider contributing resources. If you have a project that you would like to see on our site, you have a research proposal that you'd like to submit, there is a way on our website to request. It's a simple form. It doesn't take very long to fill out at all. And we'll take those and consider those and be in touch with our decision on whether or not to promote that right now. And yeah, so please use the website gofundcreation.com, and I cannot wait to see what we build together. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on The Winsome Creationist.